Hello, my name is David and I'm from Reach Leicester. I've been thinking recently about what it means when we say that God loves us. There's an amazing verse in Romans which says this: "But God demonstrates his love for us in this: whilst we were still sinners, Christ died for us." And that's well worth thinking about. My mind goes back to a dark, damp, dismal day in November. I was a young father, and the church we went to at the time decided that they were going to have an open-air service. Unfortunately, the day was terrible. It was just above freezing. There was a drizzle. It was awful. And the place we chose was next to a busy shopping centre. The idea is that people would stop, be so amazed by what was going on, they would stop and listen, but none of that happened. First of all, it was deserted, and anybody who was there walked briskly past. Nevertheless, we carried on. As the chief guitarist, I was asked to lead the worship, and fairly soon I lost any sense of feeling in my fingers. So in the end, I just chose a chord, G. Most songs were in the key of G in those days, and I played the chord of G. And when it was the right chord, I played it loud, and when it was the wrong chord, I played it quietly. As you can imagine, musically it lacked something. And the talk was no better. It was one of these guys who thought he was Billy Graham, but really wasn't. He used all sorts of jargon. "Have you been washed in the blood?" he said. He talked about being saved and talked about asking Jesus into your heart. And inside, I was cringing. Is this really what it's come to? Is this really what Jesus died for? Is it like a switch, on off? Either you're saved or you're not. Either you're in or you're out. Is that really what it's about? And as I reflected on it, I realised that the word salvation itself nowadays it seems to have a ring to it that's a bit jargonistic. It's a bit religious. If you use the word, "Are you safe?" well, that's different, because we all know that we need to be safe. We look for places of safety. We look to be secure. And that word that's in the Bible is actually there in its past, present and future tense. In 2 Timothy, it's there in its past tense. We have been saved. We have been made safe. When Jesus died for us 2,000 years ago, he swept away our sin. He welcomed us into his family. It's something that's happened, something we can be confident with. We have been made safe. In 1 Corinthians, we see it there in its present tense. It's being worked out in front of our very eyes, we're told. We can see that our lives are being transformed, and we can see ourselves changing slowly to become more and more like Jesus. It's an amazing process which you may not see yourself, but those around you perhaps are more likely to see it. We are being saved. We are being made safe. It's happening in front of our very eyes. And in Romans, we see it in its future tense. We see that we will be saved, and sometime in the future, there will be no more death. There will be no more sickness or suffering. In the future, we know that their day will come when we will see Jesus face to face, and we will know that our safety, our security is there forever and ever. That word just brings so much to it, so much more about what God has done and God is doing. My mind goes back to that November day, and just at the point my heart was sinking, I was just longing for a nice hot cup of coffee, for a nice comfortable chair and a warm house. I felt this little tugging on my arm. I crouched down, it was my son, and he said, "Daddy, I want to ask Jesus into my heart." It's not often you feel embarrassment and joy at the same time, but they were my emotions. As I prayed with him, for the first time, he took those few tentative steps into his own life and walk with Jesus. And I just sensed God say to me gently, "Yes, what I've done for you is amazing. It's beyond anything that you can imagine. Your words are never enough to express what I've done for you. But also, it's simple enough for a child to understand. All my life, you have been faithful. All my life you have been so, so good. With every breath that I am able, I will sing of the goodness of God." I'd like you just to click on this link now and just let that song wash over you. just rest for a few moments in the amazing goodness of God.